Okay, I'm going to show you some tricks and things you can do to retouch photos and recover images that maybe aren't well exposed, that have lots of marks in them because they've been scanned off film and so on. But the first bit I'm going to play with is the Camera Raw tool. Now, if you're using CS5, as a lot of our senior students are, you'll need to use Adobe Bridge to access that. If you have the latest version of Photoshop, we can access a Camera Raw filter within Photoshop. Slightly different controls and tools in the new version, but I'll show you the old version because that's what all the students in the group we're targeting here will have. So I've got Adobe Bridge already opened, so that's it there, VR. I've got a film image open. If I go right click down the bottom here, and I'm going to open in Camera Raw. Now, there's Camera Raw. It's got a lot of different settings. I've already been playing around with this one, but I'm just going to show you what happens when I fiddle with each control tool. There are a lot of others up here, but we're just going to worry about these for this particular exercise and for working with our black and white negatives. So I can play with the exposure, making it darker, or lighter, or overexposing it. We'll go back to 0, of course, because that's what I've got the way I wanted it. There we go, close enough. 0. Recovery, it plays around with, you can see it changing the light. Look at the histogram up the top, see where it's changing. So I just brought it back to about 6 for this one. Fill light, this is my favourite bit in this particular version, because it allows you to bring up detail in shadows without blowing out the rest of the tones like you would if you were playing with exposure. So that's what happens when I blow it right out. And I'm going to just pull it back down to where I had it. Now, we can intensify our blacks without any worries. If I blow the blacks right up, look at that, right out. I just get a little bit more. You can take it right out if you want. I just gave it a little bit more black. Brightness is pretty obvious. Brightness and contrast are the old tools that are available in most photo editing programs. Contrast is there to see what happens. I actually liked to flatten this one out. It gave me more greys. Clarity, you can see a bit of change there, particularly on the bottom end. Back up there they are. Vibrance and saturation are more colour orientated. So I'm going to hit done. So that's using Adobe Bridge. Now, those filters and the Camera Raw, I'm going to open this in Photoshop 2020, the latest version, because my version of CS5 is not functioning anymore. So I'm going to go to this. I'm going to open with Photoshop 2020, which brings up the new version. Now the tools will be basically the same, slightly different spot, most probably. So here we go. So there's the Camera Raw. Interestingly, it's used the original Camera Raw tools from CS5, so let's talk to it. I need to open the image. There we go, it's open. I'll just close Bridge down, minimise it, sorry. So there it is. There's my black and white image, which is looking quite reasonable, but there are some faults in it. I'm going to go in and zoom right in. You start to see lots of little marks. Look at all them that shouldn't be there. Now, you're not going to get rid of all of them, but depending on the size you need to print your photos, there's some you're going to have to get rid of. And I like the healing brush for this. I always get the wrong one. Just the healing brush. Yeah, no, the spot healing is what I want. See the healing brush, it allows you to pick pixels from specific areas to heal, which is really handy. I'm just going to use the spot healing brush because I know it works quite well. So have a look. Just paint it over, fixes up my problem. It just automatically samples pixels from around. So I can go through and get rid of all my problems in this particular negative, or print from a negative. So I'm not going to do all of this because it'll take me forever, and it's only a demonstration. Now you've got the spot healing tool in Photoshop CS5, so that's available for you guys to use as well. Same in here, I want to get rid of some of these white speckles from the negatives that don't belong, particularly the bigger ones. Sometimes you've just got to zoom back out and see what's being seen. So look, back there you can't see a lot of what I was fiddling with, so you can leave it. But look at these ones here. I'm going to go zoom in here now. We can see that one. That one. This is a hair or something that's on the negative we want to get rid of. A bit there. You could go through and repair everything if you so desired, but it could also send you mad. Now that's not real good, that one there. You can just see what I'm doing to get you an idea of how you can fix it up. Sometimes you've got to decide which bits need fixing and which don't. And flipping in and out from your full size to maximum size to print size is important. And if you're just going to print this as a postcard size image, or it's only ever going to be seen as low res, you might not go into the same detail and worry that you're going to do if you want to blow the image right up. Just see, I'm just using the spot healing brush. You can adjust the size if you want to for bigger areas, but see what happens there. I used a bigger area, so it sampled stuff from over here, which I don't want. So I'll just undo that. So just be careful if you're going too big that it will take samples from areas that you don't want it to do. Sometimes too you get caught, you think that a mark is a blemish. It's actually part of the photograph. It's just a quirk of light, or conversely, if your screen's a bit dirty, you're trying to get rid of a black mark that's actually on your screen, not on the photograph, so just be aware of that. So you can play around with all that. You've still got, and I'll zoom this back out, you can still play around with all your things like your brightness and your contrast. You do it up in your image adjustments. Levels is a fun one. You can see what happens, you start adjusting levels and playing around. It's a little bit more vicious than the fill light and the camera raw tools were, but you can see you get different looks and effects, and actually you can tailor make the image to suit what you want. I'll just cancel that. So there it is. That's basically how you would retouch this black and white image. I'm just going to go there. There's a couple of tiny ones there. So they're annoying me. So basically I don't want, see, I was going to fix that up, but it's not, it's an actual light thing. I don't want the blemishes that exist on the negatives from the scanning process. I don't want them to overtake the overall image. But there's some, I'm not going to try and get every single little dot out of this. They're tiny little dots that are on the negative. So, just close that. My mouse died, so I'm using the trackpad now, which works the same way. Okay, so that's basically how we're going to do our retouching. You'll use Bridge if you want to use Camera Raw, and then you'll come into Photoshop with the spot healing brush and so on. I'll close it. I'm not going to bother saving that one, and I'm just going to open the colour image and just show you the same sort of thing. So I might just go back to Bridge here again very briefly. We'll open it Bridge. We'll do the Camera Raw the way that you can do it. So again, the vibrance and saturation come into play with this because it's a colour image. So we start playing around with that. You can see the colours changing, using some of the subtlety. Saturation the same, the colours become brighter and stronger and more saturated. The fill light again is a very handy tool. Look at it bringing up the front of that. Bring out the images in the front, but without blowing out the background. I might give a little bit of black intensification there. I've got my clarity and my contrast and so on. So I can do all that in Bridge. I'm going to cancel that part because I'm just going to do this particular one all the way in Photoshop 2020 for anyone who's got access to that. So there is, I open my image in Photoshop 2020. Now in 2020, I'm going to go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter. Now it works on a JPEG image. If you've been shooting in Camera Raw, of course, you have greater control and there's more detail. There's all these other ones here. But you'll notice that it is different. There are more tools. So exposure is the same, contrast the same. Highlights, it plays with your highlights a bit more. Shadows, you can darken your shadows or lighten your shadows. That's sort of a bit of the fill light tool really. You can pull back your whites, your blacks, you can change the intensity of them or lighten them up a bit. I might put the contrast down a bit on that. Exposure's pretty good. The shadows. I can play with texture. Clarity. Clarity is an interesting one. It really sharpens it up. See what it's doing to the image. It's quite... See the difference when I go over the top? It just sharpens its edges. It can be used for certain effects. You want to be a bit careful with it. Dehaze, let's see what it does. You can see that quite plainly. Look at that. We're literally going to see what suits us. And I'm going to hit OK for that. I'm just going to leave it as that. So, OK. So I've just applied that filter. Now, like before, I've got all these little marks and things that I don't want. I can't get rid of all of them, but there's some that are pretty obvious. So I'm going to go to my spot healing brush and just fix up the really bad ones. So avoiding that one there. And you can go all day with all these things in the sky is certainly not a fix. As I said, the spot healing brush is the same in CS5 as it is in 2020. So I don't know if that's a mark. It looks like it could be a bit of cloud, but if in doubt, I'm getting rid of it. It doesn't really enhance my image in any way. I'm not going to blow this right up, so I just want to get rid of the big things. Again, I can pull it back, and I'm looking for stuff. Okay, if I can see it now, like I can there, I've got to work on it. Obviously, there's a beauty we need to get rid of. And I could make my brush a little bit bigger here, just to make my life easier. And I'm just going to knock out the ones that are really obvious and that are causing distractions to my photo. There's ones down here that don't belong. Especially in the dark areas, it's where you get little flecks of white from a mark on the negative. You don't want it. So, and so on. You can just keep going and going and going. And then, of course, we've got all the other tools that we use to enhance our photos. That's obviously on the screen. It is. And don't forget, you've also got all your image adjustments there. Levels, curves, exposure, vibrance, hue and saturation. A lot of the stuff that was in the camera raw filter is independent. And you can use all of these to improve your image. You can try auto color. Horrible. Auto tone and so on. Depending on what you're trying to do, they do or they don't work. But you'll need to do this to most of your negatives because the scanning process brings out every little fault in it, and there are little bits of dust have attached to it, little hairs, there's stuff in the water and so on, more so than it used to be. So that's a bit of a rough idea of how to do the retouching on your photos on your negatives. So you'll be getting colour ones later, so that'll help you when they come up. But working on your black and white negatives, first up, combination of the camera raw filter in Adobe Bridge and your spot healing tool, healing brush in CS5, and then of course all your other image adjustments and so on. So hopefully that will get you through.